I watched Eliude's resignation yesterday, and my understanding the base that he stands on, and is that I don't think that resignation is consequential in any way, both at the local and at the national level, because Eliude has no base that he would rely on. He has no movement that is leading. He has no coalition that is gravitating around him. So basically, Eliude was an individual given responsibility at the national level by the president, and which responsibility, in my view, he has betrayed. Betrayed a trust that the president gave him, because both to the president, to the nation, and even to the base, the Luo base, all that was expected of him is service delivery, is accountability, is longevity in the state. If you look at the debate that is going on in especially Luo Nyanza right now, it is that we have been in government out of government for a long time. We need to get back to the core of government. And so those of us who are in government should entrench themselves, even as we look for more space within government. So when one of us is given a responsibility at the core, knowing that very well that his political future out of that space is not viable, then he abandons that space. That is a betrayal of the trust by the president and by the people. So I don't think it will go anywhere. Be that as it may, I think you have also brought in the issue of ODM. And then I want to persuade those who are debating ODM right now to stop looking at it as a political structure governed by the Political Parties Act, but more or less look at it as a movement that was led by a vision bearer who was Raila Odinga, but who then demised. The question is then, what then happens? And when you look at Raila Odinga's movement, it goes beyond the formation of ODM in 2006. Raila had been part of politics for a very long time, and apart from that, had worked with very many people. And he also, inherited a big chunk of the political structure, the political vision, and goodwill from his own father, Jaramogi Odinga. Now, I look at what is going on around ODM right now as what went on in Ford, Kenya during the demise of Jaramogi Odinga. And my view is that the chasm, the conflict is a necessary dialectic for both the synthesis and both the thesis and antithesis in ODM. And when I talk about thesis in ODM, the thesis is that Raila Odinga left him in ODM. There's an antithesis that feel that they should leave the government and go back to the streets and try their fate with the opposition. Mm-hmm. And that this is a necessary dialectic, so that the clash would then result in harmony, in synthesis. And in my view, looking at the fact that the party then quickly, immediately after Raila's passing on, settled on a very stable hand. And I keep telling people that Honorable Oburu, I'm not a member of ODM, but I grew up in ODM. I even served as an official in ODM. But then I tell people that Honorable Oburu has been the longest in that movement. He spent actually more time, because he spent time with Jaramogi even when Raila was in jail. And then he has been with Raila for 8 years, longer than even Ida Odinga. My point is that Oburu represents the vision that Raila had. He may be a little bit laid back, but I keep telling people that I knew, for instance, that Raila would consult everybody. But before he goes to bed, what he would do the following day is what Honorable Oburu tells him. In fact, what people should know, and Honorable Oburu has alluded to it recently, is that the broad-based idea was not actually Raila Odinga's idea. Mm-hmm. It was Oburu's idea. It's Honorable Oburu who negotiated it. So I think there is a stable hand in Honorable Oburu. But even as I said that there's a stable hand, I think that Raila Odinga, knowing that there would be a gap in case of his absence, left his group aligned to the president and left them under this framework, the broad-based framework. And I think the president has opened up and spoken to the ODM team and told them, strengthen your party. I am strengthening my party. And the president was at the grassroots voting for officials of UDA in the process that is strengthening UDA the same. So my point is that out of this thing, I'm thinking that there are few rebels that may probably leave, okay? But I'm thinking that the movement, considering that UDA also emerged from a split between in ODM previously, would be a bigger political vehicle that would then face election in 2027. And so in terms of, I may not say what shape the political party will take, but I'm thinking that Raila's vision, Raila's constituency will find space around President William Ruto. Finally, that, even as we talk about ODM, you know that various regions are actually engaging with the president directly. So ultimately, I see a big chunk of ODM within the broad-based government, even as we go into 2020.
Even without necessarily being in ODM, like the coast region, for example.